the nature here is so interesting that I would, for instance, try to show what is around us. So people will have an idea about the surroundings, and then I'll come back to you and try to approach. Of course, you are not seeing, you don't see that, but I can tell you that I'm quite close now, and I will put you on the center, and I get up to a point where I would get, for instance, your smile. Well, let's not talk about, yes, now we started talking about spontaneity, even before saying that. I would suggest that we start with a self-presentation. This is one of the most simple techniques we use in psychodrama, right?
Yes.
So how do you present yourself?
So I'm Rebecca. And I'm a psychodramatist. And I've been a psychodramatist for 40 years. That's a long time. I didn't want to be a psychodramatist to start with. I wanted to be a dance therapist. So there was no room in the dance therapy program at Leslie. They put me in the psychodrama program. I was pissed off. I thought psychodrama was much too intense to do with children, that we should do creative dramatics instead. I was very lucky. I worked with a man named Peter Rowan, who had trained at Beacon, and his specialty was working with children and adolescents. And after about 6 weeks, I realized that when you're working with young children, creative drama is psychodrama. So I like to say I became a convert. And you know what converts do, right? They proselytize all over the place. So that's what I've been doing. I worked primarily inpatient in psychiatric hospitals for those 40 years. And I've watched psychodrama grow and be important. When I worked at Four Winds Hospital initially, about 30 years ago, it was the major treatment modality. We'd run psychodrama groups, and everybody on the unit, from the psychiatrist to the janitor and all of the patients and all the staff, they'd all come, they'd all participate. We used psychodrama to do multi-family groups where a teenager could reverse roles with the parent of a different kid, and that parent could reverse roles with a different, not their own child, but someone else's child. And it was wonderful. And then managed care came into being in the United States. And stays that had been 6 months to a year and a half were now 3 weeks, 4 weeks. And by the time I left, they had let go of the entire psychodrama department, except for me, and one other person on the adult unit. And I was teaching the dialectical behavioral therapy skill groups using action methods. And people were staying 3 days, 5 days, 7 days. So the venue for psychodrama decreased over time very significantly. There was a time in this country where a lot of the VA hospitals, the veteran hospitals, had psychodrama stages. And psychodrama was in many, many, many hospitals, and things have changed. It is no longer considered to be, a great treatment. It's not evidence-based because psychodrama is not in the universities, so we don't have a lot of research, not the hard kind of research that evidence-based therapy it depends upon. And it's decreasing. On the other hand, people are using it and not even knowing that it's psychodrama. Tons of people do inner child work and have people talk to their inner child and reverse roles. They just don't know that it's called psychodrama. There's a lot of experiential therapy, a lot of stuff being done in rehabs and substance abuse programs where you might pick somebody in the group to represent your cocaine addiction. How close do you feel? How far away from you feel? This all has its roots on Moreno's work about getting up out of your seats and moving things onto the stage in action.
As I see you and I hear you, I realize that more than a self-presentation, you are already presenting psychodrama, at least in the United States,
Yes.
right? Well, and this, from my point of view, it's important because it was in this country where Moreno was able to develop psychodrama, actually. But I think that before the person, in this case you, Rebecca Walters, and we had historically the space, right, and time, the four universals, I would say. No, Moreno said, where are we, by the way? Right now, yeah. Talking about space and time, because we are here, we are talking about Rebecca, but we don't know yet where are we. And
so let me go back and say that my life has been so intertwined with psychodrama. It's been my only professional identity, which is unusual in this country because most people are social workers and psychodramatists, or psychologists and psychodramatists. I'm a psychodramatist, period. So that's why my self-presentation in this setting is very much geared to psychodrama. In terms of me personally, I have been married for 40 years. I have two daughters and 4 wonderful grandchildren. And my life is my grandchildren, my husband, my daughters, and psychodrama. So we are at Boughton Place in 1986. Well, let me roll it back.
We are where?
I'm going to tell you. Beacon, which is where psychodrama was really developed, at the Training Institute in Beacon and the sanitarium in Beacon. At some point, Zerka decided to sell it. Yes? And she sold it to the Horsham Clinic, which was a mental health clinic outside of Philadelphia. That a woman named Meg Givenish was part of that. And Meg Givenish moved to Beacon and tried to keep open the Training Institute. For whatever reasons, it didn't work. And I don't know the story of why it didn't work. But eventually Horsham Clinic decided to sell it, and they put it on the market, and it was bought by some developers. Now, the original house that the theater had been added onto had been a Vanderbilt summer cottage mansion. And when the developers decided to buy this property and turn it into condominiums, they were going to take down the Vanderbilt mansion and the theater. The fireman, the fire chief in Beacon asked, could they burn it as a way to give their firemen a chance to practice putting out fires? Because it was in a kind of isolated place. They had the space to do that.
So it was supposed to be burned.
Right.
Concretely.
Meanwhile, Claire Danielson, who was one of the last students at Beacon, had moved here to Highland, New York. We are 1/2 hour north of Beacon. We're on the west side of the river. Beacon was on the east side of the river. She had, with the help of Jonathan Steiner and his mother, built this building. And she was planning to build a psychodrama stage. Zerka suggested that instead of building a new stage, they remove the one from the building that was going to be burnt and moved it here. Now, I need to tell you something. That's Zerka's version. Claire told me it was her idea. So I'm telling you Zerka's version, that she decided this would be a wonderful idea. So a group of people went down to Beacon and they cut the stage in half. They took out the balcony and they moved the physical stage to this building in 1986. So the original Moreno stage is now here. There was not enough room for the bottom layer, so that's not there. There's just a painted line that shows you where it would have been. And since 1986, Boughton Place has hosted psychodrama training institutes. Hudson Valley Psychodrama, which is what I'm part of, uses it extensively. We must run 12 to 15 trainings a year here. Some of them are 2 days, many of them are 5 to 6 days. With a lot of because there's bedrooms here, we can do residential trainings.
So for more than 30 years it has been used properly.
I think the first, it's 30 years. The first residential training program was here in 1987. Natalie Winters came and did a training with her students. So everybody from, I'm going to name a whole lot of people. So Rebecca Walters, that's me, and Judy Swallow, my colleague at the Hudson Valley Psychodrama Institute, Louise Lipman, Nan Nally Seif from the Sociometric Institute in New York City, Connie Miller, Natalie Winters, Zerka has been here, Donna Little, Ann Hale, John Nolte, Jonathan Fox, Peter Pitzley, Mark Treadwell, who lives in Europe, did some trainings here, and of course Zerka.
Yeah. Well,
and there may be more. I'm just off the top of my head.
Yeah, no, of course. When we mention people, it's very frequent that we don't mention everyone.
Right.
But you know, sometimes you shine because of your absence.
Okay.
No, people who were forgotten are not as less important than people that are mentioned. Well, so from the outside, do you think we could add something else? Well, the time. What day is today?
Today is the 2nd of June. It's a Friday morning, 2017.
And we are here together exploring.
So you're right, it's 30 years.
Exploring the question, the basic question, what happened with Moreno's Theater of Psychodrama, the beacon. So you are bringing us the answer.
So let me tell you a few more things that happen here in this space.
Okay. So do you want to keep the same place? Why don't we move around?